Hey, joined again today by Rod Jessen out of our Queensland office. How are you, Rod?
Yeah, good, Drew. And yourself?
I
Having a lovely day in paradise?
I'm great. Yeah, thank you. And I wanted to talk to you today about how to sell civil businesses, civil types business. Obviously, a broad area, which you've been involved in, and are still involved in quite a lot. Do you want to give us a bit of scope on if I've got
Yeah,
it?
absolutely. Yeah, so civil's a very big, small word, but very broad spectrum of support construction. So there can be civil companies that will grade the roads and create things for asphalt companies to go back over the top, or clearings, and then there's plumbing civil companies. So they're going into new suburbs and putting all the drainage systems through new suburbs, and or repairing old suburbs and developments. And yeah, so it's quite anything from basically digging holes, I call it,
Yeah.
and moving earth. Is that is
But it could be plumbing related. It could be
so you'll get some civil companies that will do a number of different things. Let's just say there's a new extension of a highway going through, so a civil company would normally win that construction tender. So depending on where it is, they could be doing just the grading and leveling and moving earth to flatten out that particular stretch.
Yeah.
And then, or plus if they've got a plumbing license as well, so then they can do all the drainage, etc. from that as well. So they'll prep that particular company. They'll prep all that, and then somebody like the bigger asphalt companies will come through and then lay the asphalt, and then the job will be finished from there. So they're sort of first one in doing all the preparation. So some companies only specialize in just moving things. So if there's a dam to be built, it'll be done by a civil company. Anything if they're going through, drilling for a hole, for a mountain, even there'll be civil companies with excavation and a number of things. So it's quite broad. They get paid per. A lot of them will get paid per hour, and they'll tender and quote on that particular business. So, and then they'll have obviously contingency requirements in there for weather. So that's
we had one recently come through. It was a civil business, but it was an arborist one. They removed all the trees from major highways and railroads so that the roads could be cleared. I mean, they worked on state government tenders and local council tenders, those sort of things.
Yeah. So depending on where they are, again, from a value point of view, most of the civil businesses that sort of can own anything from $2 to $20 million. Some of the real big players in civil, they'll only keep their equipment for 3 years, and then they'll sell it back through pickles, etc. Some of the other guys, they'll keep it. Client, he's got $10 million worth, but some of them could be 15 years old. But he'll just keep them maintaining, and he'll do some hiring. So there's a mirage of different ways people can be involved in civil, the side of things. And then obviously one of the solid ones is always the plumbing, etc. Another company I know of that is doing the new rail system in Brisbane, going under the tunnelling of Brisbane. So they're a civil company and a rail company. So they do all the civil works to put the tracks down, and then they have the other leg of a rail company as well. So they'll actually put the rail tracks down. So there's a number of things there, but the bulk of it's the equipment, Drew, in those valuations. So a lot of times they're, again, return on investment. So, and if they're out in the open, not doing enclosed things, then they're caught to the weather. So if they're in North Queensland, for argument's sake, 1 year, particular business I know of made 3.4 million, and then 1 year, 2 years later, it made 800,000.
Yeah,
work wasn't there. It was because it was raining and they can't move their vehicles.
And
and they're reliant on, and then for that level of business. So his business should be worth about 13 million, for argument's sake. Yeah, but he's got $10 million of assets. So really looking at it on an FME was really about 1.5 million, because he just had so much trouble with it. So Yeah, but it's quite a very popular industry. There's a lot of people. They're always normally internally growing, so there's always companies moving
Acquisition work, yeah.
Yeah, acquisitioning the next company to take over.
Okay, I guess that's where your knowledge comes in. So if somebody's got a civil business to sell, main players, it's probably something we can do a merger acquisition reasonably easily.
Yeah, we'd be doing our standard marketing, direct marketing, and there's a lot of players out there. The biggest thing, I suppose, with these companies, and depend on where they are, Drew, is the human resources side of it.
Yeah.
Is because a lot of these companies that we're finding, that are anything from 2 to 10 to 20 million, they're all owner operators. They've had the business for 20 years, 30 years, got good contracts, got good relationships. And the other thing too is if they're rural, Drew, they will own private property, or the company will own property in the shares, in the shires of what they own. So that gives them first access to the tenders. So with the tenders, when they're in rural, a lot of people don't realise that if you and I had a civil company and we were tendering against that person, they could be 20% higher in their tender, because they want the local councils and federals and states want them to go to the local people to keep the industry there, versus the big players coming in and just taking the big jobs and leaving them with nothing and then not surviving.
Yeah.
So that's quite an interesting setup that the governments and the councils and everything do. So if they've got that side of it as well, they've got property in there, that gives them first right to tenders in that particular area and adjacent from there.
Wow.
So, yeah, sorry.
That's just interesting stuff. You wouldn't think of that, but I guess it's...
No, again, small things, but it's big things for them. So, yeah, a lot of the big players, back to what I was saying, struggle finding, if it's remote a bit, finding general managers that are skilled enough, that are willing to live remote. That's the evil of, probably the best part of saying that with selling something, is finding that. But if it's on the coast or anything like that, there's no issue, because there's plenty of managers that are working for the bigger companies that probably want to come down that next level to get a rights to it. And then a lot of them these days are trending, as we've talked about, is giving the general managers these days a share, a percentage of the profits in there, to give them incentive to make the business better than what it would normally be under management.
Yeah, okay. All right. Look, I know civil's such a broad industry. There's so much to talk about, go on for a long time. But look, I think if anyone has a civil group or a civil company, regardless of what type of civil work they're doing, I'm sure you'd be happy to have a chat to them, Rod, talk them through an appraisal, perhaps how to go about selling it. Rod, if anyone wants to get in contact with you, details are on morganbusinesssales.com on the website there. Thank you very much for coming in and sharing your wisdom today. We appreciate it, and we look forward to it.
Great to talk to you as always. Thanks,
Thanks,
Drew.
Cheers.